Hi everyone, welcome back to Baking with Miss Manzo. Today we have not only an awesome recipe, but we have a very special guest. This is Miss Gallo. Some of you may notice her from our recycled art videos. She's going to be with us today and we're going to be making something called crumb cake. I don't know if any of you have heard of crumb cake before, but I'm going to show you on the next screen an example of crumb cake. When you come back, we're going to wash our hands and we're going to get started. This is an example of crumb cake. If you notice, the bottom is a yellow or white cake, and the top has chunks of sugar and cinnamon. They're crumbs, and it's topped with powdered sugar. This is what we're going to be making today. I hope you enjoy it. So I hope you got to take a look at our screen with the example of crumb cake. What we're going to do before we wash our hands, we're going to go over our food ingredients and our cooking supplies. So over here, the crumb cake calls for yellow cake mix. So again, any brand is fine, although Miss Gallo, do you use a specific brand?
I do. Not that one. I use, what one do I use?
Is it Duncan Hines?
No. I use Pillsbury,
It's not the traditional
but
yellows.
it's not the traditional yellow. I use just yellow cake mix. Doesn't look like this. This box doesn't look right.
Okay,
That's
so
okay. We're going to doctor it up and make it
amazing. Now, again, we want to use what you have at home. So I had this at home. Miss Gallo didn't specify which brand she wanted, so we're gonna be using this one for today. So aside from our yellow cake mix, you want to use all of the ingredients on the back: water, oil, eggs. So we just saw our snow cone cupcakes, and we use something similar where we use the same ingredients. So we have our eggs, we've got some oil, and the water's already measured out. We've got some flour we're going to be using at some point, granulated sugar, vanilla extract, and cinnamon.
Most important part.
So we're going to be listening to Miss Gallo on this one because this is her family recipe. We have our mixing bowl that we're going to mix our cake mix, and we have our teaspoon measuring spoon that we're going to be measuring our vanilla and cinnamon. But as we said before, you're more than likely going to use more cinnamon than a teaspoon.
And we also need 2 sticks of margarine and another bowl for the crumbs.
So see, this is why we need Miss Gallo here because I don't know this recipe. She's going to help us with it. So I'm really excited, but before we get started, we have to go wash our hands. So let's head over to the sink. Okay, we're at our sink. We're going to wash our hands with soap and water.
Freeze it for 12 seconds.
Get them all nice in between your fingers, top and bottom. So we are now ready to bake. Okay, our hands are clean. We're ready to go. So before we mix our batter, we want to preheat our oven. So Miss Gallo, the oven needs to be preheated to 350 degrees.
Okay.
I like having two people in here because now we can keep going. So we're going to take our traditional yellow mix and we are going to put it in our mixing bowl. So what I like to do, which they know, I like to put an extra bowl to crack the eggs and do one at a time
Okay.
because Miss Manzo gets eggshells still. We're not that advanced. The last recipe we did a really nice job, but we still need that extra bowl. So if you want to get me an extra bowl,
Oh, sure.
because I forgot it.
Of course. No problem.
All right. So we have our cake mix. We have a cup of water that's already measured out. And then it calls for a half a cup of oil. Thank you. Get eye level. Go. So this is good. Now we have to do our eggs. Sally, do you want to do our eggs?
Sure.
All right, so we do one at a time, and then we throw it in there.
Oh, you like to use the bowl, correct? Sorry, Miss Manza. Oh, that looks good. Perfect. There's one. This box cake calls for 3. Say 2. And the last one looks good. 3.
No eggshells. She's a pro. Recycled art and baking. Look at that. Double whammy. All right, so this is ready to be mixed in our standalone mixer. So let's head over there. Okay. We have our bowl with our ingredients. We have a cake mix, 3 eggs, half a cup of oil, and a cup of water. We're going to lock it in place, and we're going to let our mix master here do the work. And then we're going to stop it in the middle because this gal is going to add in some vanilla and cinnamon. So remember, we start slow because we don't want the excess to come out of the bowl. Once it starts mixing up nicely, we're going to turn that baby out. All right. Now we're adding our vanilla and cinnamon.
All right, so for this part, it calls for 1 teaspoon of vanilla and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. But you need more than 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, so we're not really going to even measure this. We'll do a little scoop because it's a dry ingredient. We're going to be adding more. So if you get out your cinnamon and you put the cinnamon in here, you try and level it out, add some, and then we'll do the vanilla, and then we'll add some more cinnamon for some extra flavor. Vanilla, and you can always add a little more vanilla too. Especially if it's not the right kind of cake mix. You want to make sure you get a nice flavor. And then you want to add a little more cinnamon to the cake mix. There we go. Perfect.
I'm back. We're going to lock it up. Gal loves that cinnamon. You got to see this and smell. Oh. Turn it up. She just dressed this up real good with that cinnamon in here. Pretty good. I think it looks good. What do you think? Oh, look at that. All right, so we are going to take this over to our workstation where we're going to grease and flour our pan and pour it in so it's ready for the oven. Mixed up, and now we're ready to grease and flour our pan. So the recipe calls for a 13 by 9, what is this, like a dark coating pan? And Miss Gallo, how do we prepare this for the oven?
So you can either use a stick of butter to grease it, you can use a spray and then put some flour on it, or if you have a flour spray, a baking spray at home, you can use that as well. We'll use that.
Okay. Do you want to do a lot, or how do you want to do this?
I'll put it down because you don't want it to stick.
We're going to spray. All right, I think that's great. Sides as well. I'm gonna have to revamp this recipe to be a little bit more detailed because I'm not doing great with this. Thank goodness Miss Gallo's here. And then we just sprinkle. All right, so this is flour we're adding now. I'm gonna sprinkle it in. Do we do a lot, a little?
A little bit, just
A little
to
bit.
coat it.
Now, this is gonna prevent sticking too. Is that what this does?
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
And then you can also go like this to make it spread around a little bit.
That like a true baker.
Right?
Beautiful.
The sides as well, Miss Manza.
This is lovely. So guys, fun fact at home. Miss Gallo and I, we have been friends since 2nd grade.
She was my friend to my best friend dance.
Yeah, we had a spring show. Her shirt said, what was yours? And mine said friends. And it was like a little best friend heart put us together. And what do you got? Best friends for life. That's it. Forever. Okay, so I think that's decent. We're all floured up. I'm going to go rinse my hands. And then do you want to put the batter in? All right. Love it.
All right, so we are going to pour the batter in, and we also want to scrape the bowl, right? Make sure we get most of it out as much as possible. Use this spatula. Get the sides, scrape it nice. Now, something that's not in the recipe, and I'm just realizing this because Miss Manzo wouldn't know this, is after you pour it in, you can see that there's some bubbles, and you need to bang it on the table, okay, to pop the bubbles before you bake it, okay, because you want your cake not to really have any air pockets in it. So we're going to bang it. It's going to be a little loud, okay? You can see the air pockets for the bubbles are breaking. One more. All right, we're ready to bake.
Let's bring this over to our preheated oven and pop it in. Okay, so we're ready to put this into our oven. We have our oven mitts. We know we want an adult present because this is a dangerous kitchen appliance. It's very helpful, but we want to be safe. So the oven's preheated to 350 degrees. Miss Gallo, how long does this have to bake for?
We have to bake this for 30 minutes.
Okay. Okay. All right, so we're going to put the timer on for 30 minutes, and while the cake is baking, we're going to go prepare the best part of the crumb cake, the crumbs. Is in the oven. Now we're making our crumbs. So Miss Gallo, this is where she really loves that cinnamon. We're going to do it all up right now. So it calls for 2 cups of flour. So we have our flour here. Okay. You're going to do it or you want me to do it? Okay, I'll do it. Ah, look at that. Teamwork makes the dream work. So I'm just going to kind of scoop this in. It's not the best. Okay. So got to think that through and a little bit better next time. But is that good? 2 cups. There's the one. Good thing our hands are clean. Now.
So if you want
Right, we talked about that before. So I just decided to use my hand today. We're going for the, eyeballing it kind of a thing. All right, so you can do this now. So it also calls for 2 cups of sugar. All right. So now do we have to do something with this step now?
Yes, we're going to add in our margarine.
Okay, so for our recipe, we're using 2 sticks of margarine, but the recipe can also use 2 sticks of butter. It's entirely preference. So we're going to unwrap. This is margarine, which seems to be a little bit softer than butter. So do I have to break it up before I put it in?
Nope, you can put the
So
whole
I'm just going to
stick
take the stick, put it right in there.
And you don't want it to be right out of the
Okay, I like it. This off, put that in there. Now, calls for our vanilla and cinnamon. So I'm going to wipe my hands off because that margarine is slippery here. All right, so Miss Gallo, it calls for 1 teaspoon of vanilla, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And for this, I do let it overflow a little bit. So it's
Like a healthy teaspoon, like, you need like a little bit more than a teaspoon. That was very nice. Okay. And then her favorite, the cinnamon.
Now I hope we have enough because that's how much Miss Gallo's going to use.
Yeah. So Miss Gallo's family doesn't really stick directly to the recipe, which is fine because when you're baking, it can be approximate, all right, an estimate. So we put more than 2 teaspoons of cinnamon and what?
So we're going to we're going to make it up with our hands. Those are the best tools in the kitchen. And then we'll probably add a little more cinnamon to it throughout the process.
Okay. So we just dig right in. Is there like a, okay. Wow. So, you know, it's like you're in the sand, right, at the beach. Hands are getting all up in there. So is this right?
Yeah, you're doing a great job. You want to make sure all the flour and the sugar mixes together with the butter or the margarine. You're doing a beautiful job, Miss Samantha.
So this would be a fun thing if you have a little brother or sister at home, right? They can make sure their hands are clean, and then they can go in and they can mush it all up, and we're making our crumbs. Now, I feel like it's sticking to my hands here too, so you know, it's okay because the more you keep moving, I guess it makes crumbs, right?
And yeah, you can make sure if it's sticky, like Miss Manzo said, you can make sure to incorporate the flour into your hands. Keep moving it. You also don't want to do too much with it.
Oh,
But Miss Manzo's doing a great job. Keep molding it.
okay.
As she's doing it, I'm going to add more cinnamon.
Throw it right on in there.
We're done with our
That was not full, by the way. We did not use an entire bottle of cinnamon, although it may seem that way, the amount of pores that Miss Gallo put in with the cinnamon. But you know what?
cinnamon.
Very good for you. It's actually very good for your brain. You know, our friend, right before we used to take very important tests, right? Remember, she used to smell the cinnamon because there's studies out there that say that cinnamon is very good for your brain. So that's nice.
Well, would you like me to help you, Miss
I would
Manzo?
love for you to
All
help
right, so
me.
why don't you scrape off the crumbs and I'll just finish this up for you.
So this is actually Miss Gallo's family's recipe, and so many people have tried to replicate this and do it themselves, and it just doesn't come out the same way. So I'm gonna let Miss Gallo take over as I'm cleaning my crumbs off my fingers, and then she's gonna take it away.
I
So,
think it's because they don't know
oh, I think so too, because you know, if you follow the recipe, it doesn't call for the same amount of cinnamon that we've been putting in, but that's okay. So take it away, Miss Gallo.
All right, so my hands are still clean. And I'm just going to make sure that Miss Manzo incorporated all of it. So now I'm going in the bottom, making sure there's no more flour, white flour. It should be a nice light brown, almost look like sand. Make sure everything's mixed together. When it's time to sprinkle it on, that's when you're going to really be making sure that they're nice, healthy chunks of crumbs. But I think Miss Manzo did a beautiful job. We don't need to do much more. Good job, Miss Manzo. Round of applause. That looks beautiful.
Look at that. Look at this. It's a masterpiece. Gorgeous. All right, so this is gonna wait until, right, our cake is done. Has a few more minutes. So once that timer goes off, we'll pull that out. Does it have to cool?
Now, when we pull it out, we're going to add the crumbs and then put it back in the oven to cook again.
Stay tuned. So we have about 25 seconds left on the timer, and once our cake comes out, we get to put the crumbs that we mixed with our hands on top. I'm excited. Are you excited?
I'm so excited. Can't wait to see how Miss Manzo did. We also have our crumbs ready too.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Oven mitts. Beautiful, beautiful. Look at that. All right. Now what?
Now we have to be very careful when we sprinkle the crumbs on. You don't want to touch the pan because remember it just came out of the oven, very hot with your clean hands. Okay. Now if you went and did something for those 30 minutes, make sure you wash them. Okay. We're gonna take the crumbs, and it's gonna get a little messy in Miss Manzo's house, and she is very, very clean. You take them over the cake and you kind of break them into crumbs. And since there's margarine or butter in it, you can mold them too. So you want to make some small ones, some big ones, all different sizes. So we're going to do that. Sprinkle them all around. Make sure you get all parts of the cake. Hopefully there's enough cinnamon in this.
I don't think we could add any more cinnamon if we wanted to, Miss Gallo.
Taste it and find out.
Look at this.
All right, make sure you get those corners. You don't want to leave any space without a crumb. You want some big ones in there. Those are my favorite. You want some little ones. All right, we're almost there.
Yeah, the big ones are the best. Look at this.
And that's it. Sprinkle on. Perfect.
Wow. So what do we do now?
Now we put it back in the oven. We don't change the temperature. It's still 350. And this is going to be for 25 minutes.
There we go.
Okay.
Timer's going on for 25 minutes. You may want to clean your surface area. If you sprinkle like Miss Gallo does, you're going to want to clean it.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll check it in about 25 minutes. We have a few more seconds left, and then we're going to pull this out to see what the crumbs look like. Rubber mitts. Look at this. Woo! Crumbs. So now, Miss Gallo is going to tell us what we're doing next.
All right, boys and girls. So next we're going to score the cake and sprinkle on some powdered sugar or confectioner sugar. That melts into it while it's hot, and then you'll see later when it cools, Miss Manzo will be sprinkling more on. So first we're going to score it. The reason we score this cake is because when it cools, the crumbs get really, really hard. So it's harder to cut when it's cool. So we're going to just do light cut. And then when it cools, Miss Manzo is going to cut it fully for you, okay? So this is a pretty big cake. So we're going to try our best to make them a little smaller, but you don't want to make them too small, right? You want a nice, healthy size cake. So this one, these are going to be pretty wide, but we'll make it the other way smaller. So that was only 2 down. 2, 4. So that way when it cools, it is going to be a little harder to cut. We already have our lines in, so this means we'll know exactly where to cut. Okay? All right, so that is scored. Now we're going to sprinkle the favorite part, confectioner sugar, and it's going to get all over Miss Manzo's oven that she's going to have to clean later. So this is like a sifter. If you have a smaller one, that's great. If you have a bigger one, this is going to really give it a good amount all over. What I do is I use my spoon, I scoop it into the sifter, over, see how it already dropped, and I just lightly tap it. Okay? And I go right around. The reason it gets all over the oven is because you have to trace the outline. You want it on every piece.
She also wants it on every piece of my stove, too, apparently. If you could see this,
All right, so this is going to melt in a little bit as it dries, as it cools, and then we'll add more later.
Okay, so our crumb cake is cooled. Miss Gallo scored it before, and now we're going to go through and cut it, and she's going to put some powdered sugar, and then we're going to sample it.
All right, so now we're gonna cut it. Make sure you find those lines where we scored it last.
You hear the crunch?
That's why we score it, so we can get through all these hard crumbs. All right, we are going to take a piece out. There we go. Sorry, friends. First one's always the hardest. Hey. Two pieces. One for Miss Manzo and one for Miss Gallo. So we're gonna get the other one out as well. Miss Manzo, do you have another plate? Wonderful. All right, so we have our two pieces of crumb cake. Here's Miss Manzo's. We're gonna add a little extra sugar on top to make it look pretty.
Beautiful. Look at that presentation.
And she's gonna try it.
You're not gonna try yours?
Oh.
Cheers. It's a very large crumb. Wow, Miss Gallo.
Good.
This is fantastic. The crumbs on here, delicious. How do you eat yours?
Well, I just eat mine by taking the crumbs off the cake. This is my favorite part. So good.
I could hear the crunch of the crumb from here. That sounds amazing. Miss Gallo, I thank you so much for joining us today.
No problem. Thank you for letting me come
We're
on.
going to hopefully have her back before the end of the summer. If not, we have this video to cherish. So, when you get a chance, check out Miss Gallo's Recycled Art. We'll be back here for baking again. Don't forget to be a food critic at the end of the show. We'll see you on the next one. Bye. Okay, boys and girls, what we're going to do here is this is going to be the final thing that we'll do at the end of every recipe that we create. This is something that kind of rates our recipe. It'll tell you what you thought of what it looks like, how it tastes, what it smells like, texture. You get to be the food critic. Now, what a food critic does is a food critic rates all those different areas of a recipe. You guys are going to be able to be the food critic based on my recipe. Now, if you don't make it on your own, you can imagine what you think it might taste like and smell like and the texture of it. We can just focus on the visual representation then, what it looks like. And then what you can do is on a plate, not a real plate, you can draw a circle to represent your plate. You can draw your recipe. And then there's going to be some questions that I want you to take a look at. 1, would you make the recipe again? 2, if you could change something, what would you change? So these are the things that I want us to focus on at the end of every baking video. So I want you to take a few minutes and copy this down on a piece of paper or do it on a Google slide, anywhere that you want. You get to rate the recipe. Just a reminder as you're working on this, for rate the recipe with the different stars. If you notice, all the stars have different faces on them to indicate if you're not happy with it, all the way to very happy with it. So make sure that you circle which one best fits the different category. Great job today. I hope you enjoyed. See you on the next video.